Chapter 13. Bryce and the Puff Adder. Bryce Kensington stumbled through the ruined reptile house, each step a careful negotiation between shards of glass, toppled display cases, and the slick puddles of water that reflected the broken emergency lights. His hands were scraped and smeared with grime, and every breath brought the acrid scent of stagnant water, rot, and fear. He was alone. It was a truth that hit him harder than any lion, gorilla, or crocodile had ever managed to do. Ethan was gone. Jonah and Kyle were gone. Mark gone. Every face he remembered now existed only in memory, in flashes of screaming and terror. Bryce's chest tightened, and he realized with an icy prick of panic that he hadn't thought about being alone. Not really. They were always around him. This is fine," he said to himself in a hoarse voice that echoed off the walls. "I can handle this. It's just a mess. A mess is fixable." However, it wasn't. Every enclosure around him was a testament to chaos. Broken glass, twisted steel, and the occasional flash of animal movement. Small snakes and lizards that had escaped their shattered cages crawled quickly into corners, fleeing the larger predators that still roamed the building somewhere beyond. Bryce had long since stopped checking for exits. He acted out of habit, instinct, and a stubborn refusal to acknowledge that he was not in charge. He rounded a corner near what had once been the tropical reptiles section. The humidity was thick, clinging to his skin, his hair, and even the inside of his throat. The red emergency lights flickered unevenly, casting the walls in deep shadows. He stepped over a tangle of roots and broken branches that had been part of a terrarium display. Then he froze. There, coiled and still, lay a puff adder. Its coloration was perfect camouflage against the leaf litter and broken bark. Bryce didn't even notice it at first. He had stepped too close. Too late, he heard the soft hiss, the barely audible pre-strike warning that his adrenaline somehow translated into a sharp, instinctive recognition. "Shit, shit, shit," he whispered, backing up too quickly. The slick floor betrayed him, and his foot slipped, bringing him dangerously close again. The snake struck before he could recover. A flash of pain, sharp and sudden, as its fangs pierced his ankle. Bryce stumbled backward, landing hard on his elbows and scraping his face against concrete. His first instinct was disbelief. "It's just a scratch," he said, his voice shaking. "Just a scratch. It's fine, it's fine." He scrambled to his feet, hopping on one leg, fumbling at the zipper of his backpack as if digging through his things could undo what had just happened. There was no undoing it. He'd been bitten. He knew, somewhere in the back of his mind, that puff adders were fast, venomous, and deadly. But like everything else in his life, Bryce tried to convince himself he was invincible. "I'll be fine, I'm fine, it's just a bite," he muttered, hopping forward. His ankle throbbed immediately, a deep, burning ache that spread with each heartbeat. Bryce ignored it, ignoring the sweat that slicked his forehead, the shaking in his hands, and the dizzying pulse that began behind his eyes. He moved through the ruined corridor, checking the phones he pulled from his pocket, all of them dead. No signal, nothing, no one to call, no one to help. Just the echo of dripping water, the distant rumbles of the larger animals still loose in the building, and the occasional panicked rustle of smaller creatures scattering at the sound of his movements. Okay, he muttered, leaning against a half-collapsed wall to catch his breath. I just need to think. But thinking didn't come. The venom was already starting to slow him, subtle at first, a tingling in his toes, a warmth spreading through his ankle, and nausea curling in his stomach. Bryce shook his head violently. "No, not now, not like this. I can fix this." He tried to move again, testing the strength in his leg. Pain shot through him, his stomach rolled, his vision blurred slightly at the edges. No, come on. He stumbled down the hallway, clutching the wall, dragging his backpack like a shield against the chaos. He passed broken tanks, shattered terrariums, and puddles of water tainted with blood and grime. The smell made him gag. He writhed into his sleeve, then forced himself to keep moving. The bite was still a minor detail, a background problem he could solve later, because he was Bryce Kensington and he always gets away from problems. He rounded another corner and froze again. A pile of debris blocked the hallway ahead. Concrete, metal, and a fallen lighting fixture. It wasn't a long obstruction, but it was enough. Bryce was panting, dizzy, and struggling to assess whether he could climb over, squeeze through, or turn back. Think, he muttered, his voice cracking. You're fine. He tried to leap over, misjudged the distance, and fell hard into the rubble. Pain shot through his body, shoulder, ribs, ankle, and he lay there, gasping. Sweat ran down his face. The venom throbbed like a second heartbeat, relentless and insistent. His vision darkened at the edges. Not dead. He whispered, Not yet. He tried again, using his arms to pull himself over the rubble. Every movement was slow, deliberate, shaky, and painful. The puff adder bite had shifted his focus from arrogance to survival, and the realization that he wasn't in control of anything had finally begun to seep into his brain. Hours, or maybe minutes, he couldn't tell, passed in this state. Bryce hobbled along, leaning on broken railings, kicking aside glass and whispering to himself, trying to plan an escape. He didn't see any other animals nearby, but the building seemed alive with threat. Every drip of water, every creak of metal, and every distant roar reminded him that the zoo was no longer a controlled space. Finally, he found a small office that had survived relatively intact. The door was ajar. He pushed inside, collapsing against the desk, pulling his backpack close. He tried to focus, tried to breathe, tried to reassure himself. The puff adder bite burned, his ankle swelled, nausea twisted in his gut, and his limbs trembled. Not now, he muttered, closing his eyes. I'm Bryce Kensington, I get out, I. He was interrupted by a sharp pain that made him gasp. The venom was spreading faster than he expected. The bravado, the arrogance, the belief that he was untouchable, it was all gone. He was just a teenager, alone, surrounded by chaos, bleeding from a tiny snake bite. The city outside was burning. The zoo was destroyed. His friends were dead. And Bryce Kensington finally understood with a clarity that left him shaking on the floor that he might not make it out alive. He didn't cry, not yet. He just breathed shallow, quick breaths, fighting nausea, panic, and fear. The very human fear of dying when you've done nothing but show off. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a faint thought whispered, maybe I could have done something, maybe I could have helped someone. But the thought didn't last. For now, Bryce lay there, alive, terrified, and helpless. And in that small, fragile room, the puff adder rested, coiled and unassuming, its deadly patience waiting for Bryce Kensington to finally meet the consequences of his own recklessness.